Hey guys, welcome back, it's Ripe again. In today's video, an entitled Walmart customer pulls a gun on me when I refuse to obey him. He mistakes me for a customer, but I am actually an undercover police officer. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the story. So I am a cop and the area I work in was having a major issue with a string of robberies. Specifically, these people kept managing to hit places like Walmart and walk off with a ton of merchandise. And I don't mean the people that slip things in their bag or grab a shirt off the rack, they were managing to get away with thousands of dollars worth of expensive items. I cannot reveal specifics about the case I was working, but I can say that I was stationed undercover to try and see if I could catch workers who might have been assisting in the robberies. It's not the most exciting undercover job, especially here in Mexico, where undercover usually relates to working our way into cartels and the like. Instead, I was just walking around pretending to be a customer at a few stores while really getting a good look around and eavesdropping where I could. On paper it was the safest thing in the world, but I ran into an issue, almost in a literal sense. While I was pretending to browse, I walked right into another guy by accident. Not hard or anything, just a small bump trying to go through a narrow area. I figure most people have either done this or had this happen to them. A simple sorry or excuse me and both people are on their way usually. This guy was seriously messed up though. He reminds me of those entitled women all over the internet named Karen, so I'm just gonna call him that even though he is a guy. Karen started screaming at me for bumping into him and telling me that I had no respect. Karen, why don't you watch where you're going? So rude to just smash into customers. Me, I'm sorry, I was not looking where I was going. Karen, you can say that again. You really do have some nerve to think this is okay. I need to speak to a manager or something because this is just total crap. Now, because of why I was there, the last thing I wanted was a bunch of focus and attention on me. I wanted to just calm this guy down and get him to continue going on his way. I normally wouldn't just roll over and let people speak to me like that, but I was working, so I decided to just apologize again and try to give him what he wanted. Me, I really am sorry, I was too focused looking at the clothes on the rack. It was a total accident and I didn't mean it. Karen, I don't care what you did or didn't mean. I don't come shopping here for the employees to try and tackle me to the ground. Me, I don't actually work here. I was shopping just like you were. And that is when things got messy because he considered what I was saying as some kind of excuse and pulled a gun out on me. It was right in my face and he was just screaming how I was being disrespectful and wanted a manager. I played along and started to get a manager to appease him and hopefully have him put the gun away. Still not wanting to just give up myself and instead have somebody call other officers to come and handle him. When walking away, he screamed at me and grabbed me from behind, holding me back towards him and pushing the gun into my bag, going on a rant about how employees are incompetent here and is gonna just shoot me if I don't listen. Going as far as to make comments about wanting to kill all the employees in the store. It was at that point me being undercover was not as important as the threat in front of me. I was able to get myself turned around and he seemed fine, thinking the front was a much better place to shoot me. I knew how to disarm him from my position and with nobody else around, yet it was my best chance. I disarmed and got him to the ground. When I told him that I was a cop, he didn't believe me and started throwing punches at me in hopes to then run away. But I can take some hits and struggled to get him back on the ground. I had no handcuffs on me, but I did have my badge, which fell down during the fight. Soon more cops came, as somebody must have called them, and threw me some cuffs to get this guy restrained. I wanted full video footage the store head of thing guy to make sure he came in alone and did not have a partner with another weapon that was gonna attack me or something. The store cameras didn't see anything like that, but it did see him stashing a large bag behind a bunch of merchandise in one of the aisles. We went to get it and found that it was full of things from the store that he seemed to be hiding. When pushed later, he admitted that he was getting paid anonymously to put certain items in a bag and hide them in the store. The trick these robbers must have been using to ensure getting in and out quickly. Not the big criminal in the ring I wanted to catch that day, but a small fish that could help lead to something. He was under arrest for assault, battery, resisting arrest, attempted robbery, use of a deadly weapon and conspiracy to commit a crime. With all those charges, I can imagine why he was giving up information like crazy to try and stay out of prison. With that many charges, it was not gonna happen though, especially when the assault was on a cop. I know laws can be different everywhere, but at least here in Mexico, assault with a deadly weapon can get you about 3 years in prison. But since it is a firearm, that sentence increases and can be up to 10 years if things don't go in your favor. The fact that he came up when we ran him through the system with prior felonies meant that nobody was gonna take things easy on him. This was not just a one-time bad decision like he was trying to claim, his past felonies were also related to robberies and assaults. So this guy knew helping the ring steal stuff was a bad idea, and attacking me was an even worse one for him. He just did it anyway though, thinking that he would get away with it. The judge imposed a maximum sentence of 10 years for him because of all of that. I cannot give more details because I could get in a lot of trouble, so I'm sorry if some points in this story have to remain vague. Especially when connecting to the criminal ring. I got reamed by my other cop friends for somehow getting into that situation with the easiest undercover job possible, joking that next time I will somehow get shot being called to direct traffic or something. So even though it was a bad situation, things turned out okay and I had a good laugh and story from the whole thing. And now I can tell any rookie to always be paying attention, using this as an example. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I don't know how it is for you, but I have, at least for the majority of cops, a lot of respect because certainly it is not an easy job. And especially in Mexico, I can imagine that being a cop is even worse than in other countries. Either way, the next one is titled Vegan Friend. Okay, so I, 24 female, have been living with my roommate, 26 female, for 3 years. My roommate is a strict vegan and has been since she was 14. I, however, am not, and this has never been a problem since I think people can do what they want with their lives and I've never tried to change her mind about being vegan. My roommate is a bit of a plant lady. She has been collecting and raising different types of plants for years and has amassed quite a collection. She even puts little sticker labels with the names she has given them, which is adorable. She's truly one to die for her plants. I think this is cool, but have never really interacted with them besides watering them whenever she is out. It really doesn't get in the way of my life, so I don't care that she's so obsessed with them, and I am glad that she has a hobby. Here is why the problem begins though. 2 months ago she visited a conference on animal products and came back with a more fiery spirit. She started going to events regularly, became a local activist, started preaching to people in the streets, etc. Now this is not a problem, she is a human being who can believe whatever she wants, or at least it wasn't a problem until every conversation with her transformed into telling me why I should go vegan, why I am evil for consuming animal products and how I should be ashamed that I'm not vegan. This seemed weird since she hadn't acted like this prior to the conference. But it had gotten so common that I started waking up earlier to go to work so I could eat my eggs in the parking lot of my job so I don't have to hear her rant. Since we were close to the end of our lease, I had decided to pull a little stunt before we parted ways. I headed to an exotic plants place near where I live and got a bunch of different types of carnivorous plants. I'm talking every single species I could get my hands on. I also got pots and things to hang them from so they looked pretty. My roommate was not there that day, so I had plenty of time to set the place up. I decided to do it in the kitchen since that's where most of her scolding would take place. I put them everywhere I could. Wherever she had a plant, I put one right beside it just to be extra petty. It looked like a greenhouse in there, and honestly, I was pretty proud of my work. I felt like Buddy the Elf when he renovated the store. When she got home, she started screaming at me, blowing up saying that I'm horrible. She was livid, but because I bought them and I hadn't moved or touched anything of hers, she couldn't do anything. It's been like this for years, for the last few weeks, and I've been caring for them daily. And even researching the best ways to keep them alive and purchasing products so they can thrive. Honestly, I've actually gotten pretty fond of the plants. I went as far as naming and labeling them. I'm moving out today, so I thought I would tell this story because it's kind of crazy. And here, Ripe Stars, if you still enjoy the petty revenge stories, then please don't forget to let me know in the comments and don't forget to like the video because that would help me tremendously. Thank you so much, and the next one is a petty revenge story as well. So driving home yesterday and I needed to change lanes so I could make a right turn in a couple of blocks. I checked my mirror and hit my turn signal, and well, the guy that was back a couple car lengths speeds up to try and block me in the left lane. Sorry, but I'm coming over. The guy lays on his horn for half a block. I laugh and wave. I even used all my fingers, not just the middle one. So the guy follows me for the next mile and turns into my neighborhood behind me. Not unusual, since there are some apartments there. He follows me for a couple more turns and I start paying attention. The last 2 turns he would only make if he lived on the same street. Still, I have a couple neighbors that drive the same kind of car, not too worried. When the guy drives past my house to the end of the block and turns the corner, I know he was just effing with me. Well, damn, now he knows where I live and what I drive. I know nothing other than it's a guy driving a Subaru. Narrows it way down, right? Anyway, I back out of my driveway and back around the corner. Sure enough, here he comes around the block and back out of the neighborhood. At this point, I decide to give the guy a taste of his own medicine and start following him. He jumps on the main road and heads north. I follow the guy for about 5 miles to the next town. He's driving okay and I'm keeping a safe distance, but on his tail enough that he knows I am there. I'd been watching him gesturing with his hands and swerving a little, not bad though, so I figure he's talking on the phone. I'm hoping that he doesn't have a bunch of friends waiting wherever he's headed, but he also has a temporary tag and I still couldn't identify a thing other than the make of the car, so I keep going. He heads through a light and onto Main Street, and at that point I know he is on the phone with 911. Perfect. Sure enough, the guy pulls up to the police station and into a parking space. I roll up right next to the guy and hop out to go talk. He won't even look at me, so I stick my phone camera in his windshield and take a picture of the dude. Just then, a cop walks up behind me and starts asking why I'm following the guy and videoing him. 2 more cops show up and start asking me a bunch of questions too, so I explained that he followed me first. They go over all the things that could go wrong with me following someone. So I go over all the things that could go wrong without me following him, and that I was glad he came to them. Because now, even though I don't know who he is, they do, and he knows it. So now I don't have to worry about him coming by my house later. They were all telling me how shook up the guy was. That he was pretty scared. I told them to let him know that following people to their homes probably was not the best activity for him, and they agreed. And the next one is a malicious compliance story. This happens in a large store in a European country. When you purchase something from them and for any reason want to return the item, their policy is that they never give money back. They only give you a voucher redeemable same day only. I went to the store today and purchased quite a long list of items. I got home, my wife looks at them and says that we don't need some of them. I go back to the store, barely 20 minutes pass. The returns manager smiles at me as I tell her that I just purchased these and would like to return them. She tells me that I stepped out of the store, so she cannot refund. Only give me a voucher and I must buy something else. I'd already bought everything I needed, then she tells me to take the products home and keep them for the next time I would need to buy something, then I can come and get the voucher and redeem it. Imagine keeping a pair of shoes and a bowl and remember to bring them with you the next time you happen to need something. I tried to reason, but she was adamant. Those are the rules. You stepped out of the store, so you don't get a refund. And then it clicked in my head. I asked, so if someone wants to return an item without leaving the store, they get the money back? Yes, you see where this is heading. Malicious compliance kicking in. I ask to return the items and get the voucher. I take the voucher, get inside the store, find a product to exactly the same amount, buy it with the voucher, and right after the cashier there's the returns manager. Straight from the cashier I go to her, hand her that random product I just bought and say, I would like to return this, I don't want it. And by the way, I never left the store. She's looking at me with barely contained rage in her eyes, I kid you not. The awkward pause was getting longer and then her manager comes along, looks at us and I smile at him and say, I never left the store and I would like to get a refund for this please. He nods, silent and not looking at me. She proceeds to refund me the money in cash. Company policy, right? And here, ripe stars, that is such a satisfying malicious compliance story, and I'm curious, have you ever participated in malicious compliance at your workplace or in your real life? Let me know what happened in the comments, I would love to hear your story. And the next one is titled, The Worst Grandma Ever, Part 1. So I am 29 and I've been dealing with this for some time, but most recently this became ridiculous. My grandma is the most special person I ever knew, and with special I mean one of the most frustrating, entitled, narcissistic and condescending witches on earth. She believes that she is the matriarch of the family, the highest authority that we all must obey, and for that she had done a lot of things to all the family over the years, and recently I became her main objective. A couple months ago she organized a family meeting on her house, believing it was just a family meal. We all went, and when everyone was there she revealed her true intentions. It was a trap. Apparently someone told my grandma that I was dating a girl, my girlfriend, and basically she exposed me to all the family. In that moment I have not even told my parents about it yet. The following 30 minutes were a non-stop humiliation in front of all my family, saying how much of a failure I was, that I'm a shame to the family, a sinner, and how embarrassed she was that all her church's friends knew that I was a shameless pervert. When I could not take it anymore, I got up from my chair just to be slapped in the face by her for disrespecting her. After seeing that the rest of the family finally intervened, getting her apart before she tried to pull my hair. The following weeks she was nothing more than a constant headache. Endless calls and text messages telling me such beautiful things as that I will burn for my sins, that I was a disgrace, and that I should stop fooling around and correct my life. She even lectured my parents, demanding that they correct me to make me quit my job and find a husband, because supposedly that was the right thing to do and what I should be doing. Also, she took every chance she got to say how evil and selfish I was for ruining her good image. Last Saturday she outdid herself. While I was in my apartment there was a knock on the door, and when I opened it I saw that it was her. By that point I was no longer trying to hide my displeasure from her, and I just said, "Ah, it's you, what do you want?" Without even being invited to come in, she went into my house and began to look around the place with an obvious gesture of disgust and disapproval on her face. She then turned to see me with that look of superiority, as if she were doing me a favor just for being there. She told me that she had already given me more than enough time to reconsider and correct my life, so she was there so that I could apologize to her. I just laughed sarcastically and told her that she was crazy and that she could go now. She then started lecturing me with the same speech again, but I did not take it. I interrupted her and let out all the things I've wanted to tell her for a long time. That she was a stupid old witch, that she was not an authority figure to anyone, and that her presence alone ruins our day, and that nobody can stand her. Also that she is such a horrible and suffocating grandma and mother that she should not make it strange that none of her children love her or visit her unless she forces them to. I knew I had hurt her by the way she tensed her face and how she tried to hide the tears in her eyes. It was then that she said, "Enough. I can see that you don't understand the good way, so I will have to correct you in the old way. Give me the keys to this place and you will return to your parents, and you will be grounded until you learn to obey and do what I ordered." I still had the keys in my hand from when I opened the door, to which she extended hers as if waiting for me to give them to her. I laughed out loud. This was too ridiculous that I couldn't take it seriously. And apparently that made her so mad that she lunged at me, trying to grab my keys. We struggled, there were screams and things falling out of place. The damn grandma witch got to the point of digging her nails into my arms and biting my hands. The scandal was such that a couple of neighbors went out to see what's going on, and when my grandma saw them she started shouting that I was a thief and was trying to rob her house. Obviously they did not believe him, and they were my neighbors, they knew me. They separated me from her, and when she saw that they did not believe her and that I would not obey her, she threatened me with, "Your parents will know about this," and then left. Since then she had been telling everyone how it insulted her and violently attacked her. We all know her, we all know she is a liar, and she just makes everyone's lives harder. Update to the story: after the last post I took some of the advice that people here told me. I went to the police and filled a report about what my grandma did. I had some photos of the bites and nail marks, and even one of my neighbors came with me as a witness, but police did not help. They said that any of that was enough proof to do something and suggested to talk and solve it. I knew police would not help, but as some said here, I now have a paper trail. I bought cameras for my door, not very expensive, but they record in a very decent quality. And they arrived just in the right moment, because 2 days later my grandma showed up again. This time I did not open the door, and that made her angry. She noticed I was in the home and kept knocking the door for 30 minutes, and after that she started hitting and kicking it, yelling that I must open and that as my grandma I must obey her, and of course lots of curses. She left after the neighbors told her that they were calling the police, and I had everything recorded. That night I sent the video to my family chat group, and this leads to the next point. I went no contact with my grandma. I decided I don't want her in my life anymore. After sending the video to the family, I told them that I was cutting all contact with her. It looked like it was something that everyone wanted to do, but they were waiting for someone to do it first, because half the family agreed to do the same after I told them, and almost all of us on the following days. My grandma noticed and tried to show on everyone's houses, but we had enough. Except for one aunt, no one opened the door. I would like to say that everything ends here and we all are living our lives, but that was not the case. My grandma showed up on my workplace and she started one of the messiest dramas I've ever seen. She claimed that everything was my fault, that I made the family to stop talking to her, and she then ordered me to take her to the boss office because she wanted me to quit my job and to start obeying her. I just asked her to leave the building and turned my back on her. That only ever made her angrier because she tried to attack me again. Some of my coworkers were able to keep her away from me until security arrived. However, in those minutes my grandma threatened me, saying that I would regret ruining everything, and this was disturbing, to be very careful because she knows lots of people and she knows where I live, and it would be too sad that someone breaks into your house during the night, and even worse if he did something to you. Or maybe it wouldn't be that bad if that corrects your perverted deviation. Again, I went to the police with witnesses and videos of the security cameras, and again, they did not help, but at least now I have enough for a restriction order. Which I suppose means restraining order, but I could be wrong there. And yeah guys, that was the last update to the story, and from what I could gather in the comments and so on, OP actually got this restriction or restraining order, and since then everything seemed to have been fine. Anyway, the next one is titled, I Might Have Been a Karen. A bit of context, this happened in the UK in London. I booked a ticket for Sunday evening to go back to my apartment in Northampton. Due to an accident on the tracks, a lot of trains have been delayed or suspended indefinitely. I found this out at the station a couple hours before I was about to go start making my way home. My ticket to go home was cancelled, refunded, and given the option to buy a new one, which I did. It came with a seat, but I did not pay too much attention to it. When I got to the station, it was packed to say the least. Trains were getting cancelled and delayed left and right, and my train got delayed multiple times, but luckily it arrived. Since the train station was so packed, it was a rush to get in the train, made harder with my mini suitcase I was pulling along. I was scanning my ticket and remembered it came with my designated seat. I relaxed a bit knowing that at least that was secure. The trouble was when I got to my seat, someone was sitting in there, and I politely informed the woman that the seat she was sitting on was reserved for me and I have the ticket to prove it. She looked at me and said, "Sorry, I was here first, you can find another seat." I said, "I get that, but I paid for that seat and I should be able to sit in the seat I bought. If it was the other way around, I would get up because it's the right thing to do." We went back and forth about it, with her refusing to budge on the matter and me getting more and more annoyed. I was annoyed and lost all my patience and simply said, "Look, we all paid for a ticket, but mine came with that seat and I would like to sit there as I paid for it, so please get up." At this point you could hear the anger in my voice and people started to notice and take sides. Some thought I was in the wrong and should screw off, and some said that it is my seat as stated on the ticket, so clearly she should get up. One person heard the commotion from another carriage and came to shame me for bullying her and refused to listen when someone was trying to explain. She said I should be ashamed that someone like you should not harass an innocent lady like her. To clarify, I'm 6'3", black guy with a voice deep enough to make Darth Vader jealous, so it could have been a misunderstanding. After 10 minutes and another delay, the train was at the platform the whole time. She reluctantly got up and sat next to someone else. I apologized for the disturbance, put my suitcase up in the overhead luggage storage, sat down and put in my AirPods and calmed down with some music. She got off at the stop before me in Wolverton and gave me a dirty look through the window. In hindsight, it was a chaotic situation to say the least, but I still believe I was in the right, and I also think that I could have just let the situation go or handled it better, so I come here for an unbiased opinion from strangers of the internet. And yeah, Ripe Stars, let me know what you think about this story. Do you think that OP is the a-hole or not? And by the way, I would definitely say absolutely not the a-hole. I absolutely hate it when I buy bus or train tickets that are reserved seats and then some idiot sits in my seat and refuses to go. Anyway, someone on Reddit said, "Not the a-hole and I will die on the hill with you." And also screw the person who tried to shame you and called you a bully. Comment number 2, not the a-hole, no argument here. You spend money for something, you expect that seat is yours. And with this, we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please check out my endless playlist, where you can find thousands of hours of content. In addition, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. Thank you so much in advance, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.